Celina, Texas homes, the pros and cons of Celina, Texas.
You've probably heard it's one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, but is it the right fit for you? Let's find out. Before we get started, I'm Holly Haven.
And I'm Andy Haven.
And we are the Haven Home Team, and we are focused solely on you becoming a Texan.
Today, we're focused on the good, the bad, and the unexpected of Celina, Texas. Is Celina, Texas right for you?
Many real estate agents will tell you what you want to hear, but we're here to really just give you the truth, right?
We're here to break it down, all the good, the bad, again, and the unexpected.
Yeah.
Starting with number 5, we have big growth potential and the small town neighborly feel.
Yeah, the welcoming atmosphere really to me comes in when you hit downtown Celina. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Whenever you're walking through downtown Celina, a lot of the people down there they all have the same interest in mind. They're all trying to support a small business, go eat at a restaurant that's opened by somebody that works in town, lives in town, and kind of just bring that community feel together. Everybody lifts each other up. And it's pretty cool. When you're walking down there, you can ask anybody a question. Everybody wants to chat. There's always live music playing in downtown, which is pretty cool. Moms and their toddlers will go play out on like the little grass turfed area in the middle. I think it kind of just brings that sense of community back to downtown.
Yeah, it definitely, even though with all of that fast-paced growth that we are experiencing, we really do feel like we can just all convene in downtown and feel like that small community that just comes together to really rally around Celina. So we've already mentioned that fast-paced growth.
Yeah.
What do we have happening?
Yeah, we're seeing lots of new communities. We are seeing new schools. Celina's currently building their second middle school, which is really awesome. If you drive by, it's a beautiful school. You just go straight down Coit, turn left or right off of the outer loop, and you'll end up right on Coit where the brand new middle school is being built. It is huge. I didn't realize I was living so close to it, which is pretty awesome. But even over in that direction, there are lots of brand new communities, lots of incentives for a lot of these homes that have, or a lot of these builders that have homes available right now.
Yeah.
So it's allowing people to get in right now, get into the market.
So Andy, we've talked a lot about downtown. What does downtown offer and kind of what cool things are happening down there? We're excited about it.
Yeah, so there are tons of bars and restaurants. We've had a few open in the past few years. We now actually have like specific brunch restaurants. We have bakeries downtown, Granny's Bakery, The Wick for brunch. We have a new bar that just opened, bar and restaurant with cigar lounge, which is really cool, the Silos of Celina.
Yeah.
And that's right across from the Little Wooden Penguin, which is actually just a typical bar. It's really cool.
Yeah.
They have food trucks. That's awesome. So they bring in food trucks
and like a mini
every
putt-putt
weekend.
course for families and kids. I feel like downtown is really well-rounded now because we have had a couple new restaurants open in the last year and then in the last couple of months. And then we also have some really cool boutiques, shopping opportunities. They did a wine crawl event last weekend.
Yeah, that looked like fun.
Yeah, there's going to be a crawfish fest coming up. Cajun Crawfish Fest.
There you go.
That's
Tongue
what it
twister.
is. Coming up. So there's all these really cool things to bring more attention to downtown. So there is a lot of really good opportunity, even though you're not right in the mix of Plano, Frisco, Dallas.
Yeah, and you're right off of the end of the tollway. So if you need to get to Dallas, it's an hour with a little bit of traffic. Without traffic, you can get there in about 45, 50 minutes. So it's really not too bad. If you go at odd times of the day and you do have that flexibility, it isn't as bad as some people make it out to be.
All right, coming in at number 4, we are a little bit farther from Dallas.
I know, and I did mention this in our last point, but we do want to reiterate that just because you're 50 minutes to an hour away from Dallas doesn't mean that you have to go to Dallas for everything that you need.
We don't go to Dallas for almost anything anymore.
No, I only go for very specific restaurants or very specific bars that people just say I need to try. I don't need to go to Dallas, which is amazing. Being so close to Prosper and Frisco actually allows for most things that we need.
Yeah, and the point I want to make for people who are looking at moving to someplace like Celina and they do have to commute into Plano or Dallas, I'm going to say getting out of town onto the tollway or onto 75, depending on how you're commuting, that's probably the biggest struggle. The red lights, the school zones. So you're going to find that the distance to Dallas is not so bad, but it might be just that added 15-ish minutes that you wouldn't maybe feel, in some other locations. So. Which brings us to that next little point about the commute is traffic and congestion.
Yeah, that's something you definitely want to take into consideration. We've been here for years, and 380, we have seen it completely blossom and then crash and then blossom and crash again. So we're currently at the crashing point, depending on where you live on 380. If you live on the west side of Preston, that is generally where a lot of people have complaints about the congestion.
I think you have to expect it when you move into one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. You have to know that it's gonna take us a little time to catch up. They are working on it, but kind of to be aware. And that's one of the things that we counsel our clients on pretty often. If they are moving here from out of town or out of state, we ask them about their commute, about their work, about their lifestyle, because there are certain parts that we won't tell you not to live in a certain part of town because of the congestion, but we will guide you and let you know that might add 15 minutes to your commute.
For sure.
So really just being aware, having that information or having us as a resource to provide that information hopefully is helpful.
Moving on to number 3, we have lower cost of living and affordability compared to Prosper and Frisco.
Yes, that is a very fair point. Frisco really started building out late 90s, early 2000s, and we saw a massive growth that happened very, very quickly. Frisco used to be the fastest growing city.
It did.
Now it's Celina. So guys, we can kind of see that trend happening. So yeah, people who got into Frisco early, they really have some very nice equity if they've kept that home really even 5, 7, 10 years. But you know, we have friends and family that have lived in Frisco in the same house for over 20 years. And I can tell you their equity is really nice. It looks almost like a retirement account.
I'm sure it is. And that's something that you want to take into consideration. Also, when moving into Celina, it is an investment. This is something that you are looking at equity growth. We're not looking at fast money. That's not the scheme that we're looking at here. It's something that if you want to move to Celina, you want your kids to go to Celina, whatever that may be, and you're looking at a 10-year plan, Celina might just be the best place for you. Well, and Celina is kind of one of the only towns right now. It's obviously fast growing, but compared to Prosper and Frisco, it's really the only town that you can get a new build right now under $600,000. It's completely impossible. I'm going to actually quote that. It is impossible to find a new build in Prosper under $900,000. I just did a search and $1 million was the bottom of the line. So it's becoming a lot more difficult to get into Prosper. You can get into Celina Prosper ISD. They are still building. They're actually building a huge add-on to Sutton Fields, actually. That's going to be a huge Prosper ISD neighborhood, the city of Celina. So if you are still looking to get into Prosper ISD but want to build, that is an opportunity that you may have out there. But other than that, right now, the average sold home in Prosper is $1 million plus. In Celina, we're looking at 600 to 650 plus, but that's on average. We do still have homes in 450 to 600, so it is a little bit more attainable.
All right, coming in at number 2, the rapid growth means construction and probably some ongoing construction.
I will say we need to start off with the fact that it is still small town at heart. Everybody loves it for that. But at the end of the day, there are some challenges that we're seeing. I just saw today actually that by 2029, I believe, every school in Celina will be maxed at capacity. So that's something that they are trying to plan for. We've gone to meetings for the past 2 years with the board. I believe it's
with the superintendent. Yes.
Okay, yes, yeah. So the superintendent, and they're speaking about what their plans are for growth. They listen to us. They understand that we're the ones that see the growth in Celina, and they are trying to build schools as fast as they possibly can. So if that's something you're concerned about, they are on top of that. They understand that, and they are trying to build those quicker. With that being said, though, with the growth, you will likely experience zoning changes when it comes to where your kids are going to school. And if that's something that you're concerned about, you need to choose a neighborhood where the elementary school, middle school, high school is within a 1 mile radius. You're likely not going to be changed from that.
So outside of schools, we have potentially higher taxes than some other areas. And we've talked in some other videos about muds and PIDs that we experience here in Celina. And what that means is it's the building out of infrastructure. We need more sewer and water lines, and the city cannot keep up with that. So the developer puts it in, and then they tax it back to that homeowner. The particular homeowner that's inside the neighborhood is then kind of hit with a little bit of a PID tax or a mud tax. And again, we've discussed it before. You might check some of those other videos. We have one where we talk specifically about muds and PIDs. But it takes down your city taxes just a notch, and then it adds this PID on top. So we don't want it to scare you off, but we do want you to be informed and really know what you're paying for, where it's going, where those funds are going, and why you're paying for it. But I do think, prices in Celina are lower right now. We have that potential for the future equity growth. We might be paying a little more in taxes, and there's going to be some growth challenges. But I do think if people kind of, relax, know what they're walking into, it's a better experience.
Well, and I think adding on to that, as we are experiencing housing growth, we are going to be experiencing commercial growth as well.
Yes.
We're going to be seeing a lot more box stores, a lot more big Lowe's, Home Depot,
which
gyms,
are already
Costco.
planned.
They
Walmart.
are already planned. A lot of food, which is going to be actually very nice.
The city is doing a really good job about trying to plan accordingly, but I think we can probably all understand that we're going to have some challenges with the construction and the infrastructure, the roads and the schools and all of those different things that go into that. Moving on to number 1, we have highly rated schools and community-focused lifestyle. So even though we've already touched on some of these topics kind of throughout this video, we really did want to highlight that these are big pros for most people. This is what people are looking for when they move to Celina. They're looking for the highly rated schools, the Friday night lights, the community involvement. Everybody's a Bobcat right now.
Yeah.
Guys, spoiler alert, it's going to change in the future. Prepare yourself.
I know.
But right now, we're all orange, we're all Bobcats, and there's a lot of really cool community that comes out of that.
Well, and I think the schools changing, I know that that's a big change for a lot of people, but it's going to allow for Celina ISD to actually offer a lot more options, especially for the older age groups, high school age specifically, that will prepare them more for college or for the career that they want to enter without having to go to college. And I think that that's something that Prosper and Frisco and bigger cities are able to offer that Celina is currently not able to offer a lot of students.
As these districts grow, that's what brings the opportunities.
Yeah, and also with the school growth, people are upset about it, but it's also really difficult and challenging to have the pods outside. As parents may know, there are learning pods outside. These are, what do we call these? Other than a learning pod? They are separate buildings that are set outside the school to allow for additional students to have space. But on top of that, crowding is not good. So at the end of the day, if you have to build another school and you have to move to another elementary school, it's much better than all the kids having to be in learning pods all day. So.
Yeah, because those learning pods, they can help keep the teacher ratio low, but we still have only so many gyms and parks and playgrounds and access to fine arts and, art rooms and all of those things. So that's where we're really feeling the growth. Yes, we have too many kids and they're having to do these learning pods, but also really giving them a better overall school experience.
For sure.
Okay, Andy, if we had a bonus tip, would it be like buy now?
It has to be, because the way that we're talking about Frisco and Prosper is how we're going to be talking about Celina come 3 to 5 years from now. So if it's something that you've been putting off for years, or you're like, well, maybe the prices will get lower, they're not going to.
It's not gonna happen.
So if you have the opportunity to move, you've always wanted to live in Celina, or you really want that equity growth over the next 5 to 10 years, you should definitely buy now.
Absolutely. And we know that biggest fear for buyers was really built during the COVID pandemic. And it was a scary time. It was very tough for buyers and it was a really chaotic market. We have settled, and you've even mentioned that we're seeing more builder inventory, which allows you the opportunity to get into a new home, maybe in just a couple of months because they're just close to finishing. I think you just put a client under contract, something very similar. Builders are giving us some incentives and cash back or buying down rates. We have lots of opportunities that we have not seen in honestly 5 years, guys. Like, these opportunities are back. This feels like our really stable North Texas market. And we would just invite you to check it out, look at the opportunities, and see if this is an investment that you'd be interested in.
We think that Celina is a great place, and we hope that y'all feel the same way as well after this video. But if y'all have any questions that you would like us to dive deeper on, or any other cities that you would like us to kind of give an overview on, we would love to do that. And we hope that you subscribe to our channel, go ahead and follow us, leave a comment if you have any questions, and we will see you guys in our next video.
All right, bye guys.